Welcome back to the Nafisa Dango Show. It's definitely been a very interesting afternoon, educating us to relatable situations in our lives and helping us to be able to get through it. That's what matters. And this is what this show is about this afternoon. It's teaching us how to deal with certain relatable subjects and situations that we find ourselves in our everyday lives, but to be able to better it and educate ourselves about it and how we can overcome it and create support structures for each other. And talking about that, I'm going to be in conversation with Raisa Ayub and Sajida Mutara. Let me just tell you a little bit about them. Raisa is a master's candidate in industrial psychology at the moment. She's a person who enjoys charity work, was on the MSA at UJ, and the head of events, and she loves helping out organizations and giving back to the community. Sajida is a fourth-year student and doing complementary medicine at UJ, the chairwoman of the MSA at UJ, and the DFC Voices Unite ambassador. They're going to be talking to us about their hijab journey and what it's meant for them. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Sister Nafisa?
Alhamdulillah. How are you doing? It's so nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us on air this afternoon to be able to relate such an important topic to us. A warm welcome from myself and the team.
Jazakallah for having me on the show. And just to speak about hijab and my journey and the inspiration behind why I went to hijab, as well as some challenges along the way that I faced. So basically, just to start off, I went into hijab at the age of, okay, now I have to like really think about this, when I was in grade 6. So I think that's like that's 12 years old, I think. Am I right? Yeah, 12. Okay. Yeah, so I went into hijab at that age, and it didn't actually happen overnight. So what happened was I was thinking about it. Oh, there's Sajida. I was thinking about.
Welcome to our show, Sajida. We had a bit of a delay there, but thank you so much for joining us on our hijab journey this afternoon. And a warm welcome. We look forward to chatting to you, ladies, and getting enticed into better space. Okay, so Raisa, coming back to you, we'll come to Sajida now. You were talking to me about your hijab journey, and I think it's very interesting because I also have one, but I want you to relate yours because reason being is we want people to understand the types of things that you go through and the challenges that you face as well. But it's important to be able to keep your identity as a Muslim woman.
100%. And I'll actually touch on identity because that was actually one of the driving forces that keeps me going now, was and still is. So in that year when I started grade 6, my mom and I decided to attend one of the talks just down the road from where we stayed at the time. And there was a few ladies there, appas, and there was a whole lot of different people there from different walks of life. And there was one lady that really stood out for me. I can't actually remember her name now because it's years later. But anyway, we got into a whole conversation about hijab, about modesty, about challenges that you may face. And it was just a whole variety of different topics. And this Appa, she used this analogy with us. And she said to us, think of this, you're walking in town, right? And she played 2 different scenarios for us. She said, you have the most expensive ring in the entire world on you. Would you walk through town with it? Or would you rather safeguard it and keep it like safe? So keep it hidden away or keep it like in the confinements of your home. She elaborated with different other examples. And she said similarly with hijab. Hijab is sort of like you safeguarding your identity, you safeguarding your aura, you safeguarding, your being. And that got me thinking. And I said to myself, from that day, it took me a few days after that, I made an intention and whatnot. And since that day, I just reflected on the fact that hijab is like, it makes me who I am. Like without, I can't leave the house without hijab. It becomes a part of you. And it's just so beautiful that like when you're walking in the street or something, you're able to be identified as a Muslim. That's one of the advantages of it. So the analogy that I use is not in judging somebody who doesn't wear hijab. I mean, everybody's got their own stories. Somebody might have a different relationship with Allah. Their hijab journey is different from my hijab journey. Everybody's hijab story is different. But it's so
They say
amazing
you
that,
were
like,
6 years
wearing
old,
hijab.
right? You were 6 years old. What made you decide that at this particular age you want to go and don the hijab? Because I mean, generally speaking, a lot of the times you find people donning hijab at a way later age in life where they realize this is the time I need to do it. And everybody says
Mm.
there's a particular time they have when they need to do it. What made you at the age of 6 decide this is what I want to do and this is what I need to do?
Okay, so not at the age of 6, but when I was in grade 6. So I was age
Oh, okay.
11,
You
if
were
I can,
12,
yeah, age
11,
11.
12.
J. J. So it was just like, I just realized, like, something within me. It was like Allah was like speaking to me. Something within me just said, what, this is the path that you're going to take. And
Mm.
Alhamdulillah, since then I haven't left the house without it. And it's just like, it's my, like, I just feel different without my hijab. I don't know if I can explain the feeling.
No, I so
Yeah.
relate to you because I went through a similar journey, but mine was like way later in life when I went for Umrah. And I had my realization there. And I remember driving one day down the road to go and drop my son at Madrasa, which is like literally down the road when he was younger. He's now 25. But I felt as though I was bare. Like there was just for that 5 minute period. It was so difficult because there was nothing on the head. So I so relate to what you say. It's so interesting to see, and I think there's nothing wrong with having your identity that as such, because I mean it's who we are, it's what we're born with. And I think the hijab is something people sometimes misconceive, and we're going to go to Sajida for that. What was your journey like?
My journey was completely different from Raisa's. It started at an older age. I only realized, like, I had an epiphany, like a small thing that happened. It was a small incident. We were in Durban, and in Durban, like, we all let loose a little. So I
Yes.
wasn't dressed as I usually dress, and we went to a restaurant. We went to read Salah,
Mm.
and I was the only female member in my whole family who couldn't read Salah because of the way I was dressed. And then at that moment, I realized, I'm like, what am I representing? And the reason I'm a Muslim, like Salah is one of the key factors of Islam, one of my key duties. I can't do it because of the way I'm dressed. And I had that moment where I just realized that wearing hijab is a way of protecting myself and being able to be like the best Muslimah. So that was my moment where I just decided, okay, no, I'm going to be able to be a better Muslimah like that. And since then, a lot has changed. I changed the way I perceive myself, perceive others, the way I behave, the way I talk, who I surround myself with. It's changed a lot in my life. Alhamdulillah for that.
I'm actually so grateful that you brought up that particular aspect of it, because this is something I want people to understand, that donning the hijab is not just donning it. It makes you understand actually to look at yourself and say that I'm representing modesty, I'm representing my identity, I'm representing humility. So I think with the hijab comes a lot more connotation. Am I right there, Raisa? Can you hear me, Raisa?
Sorry. It's a bit of a delay. You were saying?
Okay, so the question was that I was talking about, like your identity, right? And the connotation about wearing the hijab and what it means. It doesn't just come with one thing, but it comes with a lot of values attached to it. So when you're wearing it, you're not just wearing a piece of cloth. You're literally wearing the identity you are, like you said, your ethics, your values, the way you perceive yourself, the type of character that you have to be, the humility that comes with it. And I think you'd agree with me that's the connotation that's behind the hijab itself. It's not just wearing that piece of cloth.
Ma, definitely. I totally agree with humility, and it's not just wearing a cloth. It's part of your being, and you present this. Yes, like Sajida said, you present like a Muslimah. And I mean, with wearing hijab, you become more humble. The way you address also adults. Like for me, like it was sort of like I became like I toned down a little. Like I became
Yeah.
more reserved, and it just made me look at the like, if I can say, like the bigger things in life in a way. So I started focusing more on my salah. It was like, you know what, when I'm going out in the world, when I'm going to campus, what are people looking at? What am I representing as a whole? And that was my intention. Like, um, obviously the intention is to please only Allah. I mean, that's like I renew my intention every single day regarding that. But like when you go out in the world and people look at you as this Muslima, they at least can identify you as being part of Islam. So you're also representing Islam as a whole. And I think that's so beautiful just by wearing hijab. And we see it in other cultures as well. I mean, Zulu people, they wear the like a piece of cloth on their hair. Nuns also adorn their hair. So we see it like as a way of respect also for other people. And that's really beautiful in its entirety.
That is so true. On your side, Sajda, what sort of connotation has it meant for you? What sort of role model do you think you're representing in society by going out there, donning the hijab? What sort of characteristics do you think it has attributed to your life? Okay, so we seem to have lost Sajida there. Risa, going back to you. I so agree with the types of connotations you just brought out. And I think the humility is the most important because by us being, humble and have full of humility, we actually realize our purposes in our lives. And I think that,
Mm,
that's what it's about, is realizing that each one of us has been sent down to this earth with a particular purpose, and the purpose is like reaching out. So I think that the connotation behind the hijab is so in depth. It's so full of meaning that a lot of the times people don't actually realize that. I mean, we're not saying that if you don't don the hijab, you're a bad person or anything.
mm,
We're not judging anybody. I mean, there are some people that don't wear the hijab but are the most amazing human beings as far as their character and their humility is concerned. But we're just talking about like when you don it, the type of person it makes you feel like a totally different human
mm,
being compared to when you're not, and your interaction with people. And I think the misconception that we're facing society right now is the fact that, before, I mean, I think we're lucky we live in a multiracial society where we as Muslims are recognized for who we are in South Africa, which we're so grateful for. But if you look at it, a lot of people are, misconceiving the idea of the hijab itself. Would you agree there, Sajida?
I would definitely agree. So when I started wearing hijab, I was in a completely Afrikaans school. So no one actually understood why I chose to cover. Because before that, we had this group where we'd all give each other advice on how to wear our hair or like. And then when I started wearing hijab, they couldn't understand why. They said that your hair was fine before, you looked fine before. Why would you decide to cover all of it? You look better when you're not showing, when you're showing your hair. So for them, they thought that it's more like my parents forcing me to do it, or like I reached a certain age, I turned 16. They decided, okay, no, because you're 16, you become an adult. This is why you have to wait. So it took a lot of explaining to my teachers, my peers, my students, explaining to them why I actually decided to wear it for myself. I decided to take such a big step, even though it wasn't something that they understood. So it was kind of difficult.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time and a long journey and a process, I think, for this misconception, should we say in inverted commas, to be alleviated, where people look at you with a hijab and say, I can't hire you because you're wearing and you're donning the hijab. But now it's had so much meaning because you find people are actually hiring you for the credibility you have and the value that you can bring to the table in any environment, as to what it was before. Would you girls agree with me with the type of situation? Because that was something I went through when I was younger, where, I wasn't, of course, wearing the hijab initially. and started working in my television environment. And then when I did start donning it, it started becoming a challenge because people didn't want to hire me in a hurry because they felt, now, you're wearing this headscarf and we can't take you on with the headscarf. You should be taking the headscarf off. But it's having to stand straight and strong with your beliefs to say, this is my identity. I am a proud Muslim woman. And this is not going to change the type of work and credibility that I can bring to the table as far as business is concerned.
Definitely. And I feel also like I recently started working, and my colleagues also, they're very interested and they want to know. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Carry on,
And
Raisa.
they
We'll
want
get
to
back to
know.
that. Yeah.
And they're quite like interested, and they want to ask these questions, and they're so curious, and they're like, okay, so were you forced into it? Same like Sajida, did your parents force you? And then you just have to tell them, it's my choice, and you explain to them the analogy, which I've done with a lot of people, and if you come to think of it, it makes so much of sense. But at the same time, you're also educating people as to why and the reason that it's not just something that you're forced into, because I don't think hijab should be a forcible action. I think a person should really actually want to go into it and understand the reasons behind it, because there's barakat there. When you do that, then you see the rewards after.
That is
from
so
my
true.
experience.
Yeah, Sajida, you were actually getting into something. What would you like to share with us? Sajida, are you still there?
No, I definitely do agree. It's no one usually understands. If you like, yeah. Hello?
Yeah, but I would say, Sajida, I would say, do you think there's an awakening? Because if I start following what is going on as far as media and general societies are concerned, you see there is that awakening of modesty and humility, where you find even some of the magazines are now tapping into modesty more than they have before. So there is this sudden awakening that's happening to say that modesty is one of the most important things that actually needs to be taken care of in society as such, where people are actually respected more from their modesty than anything else. And I think that's what's also important.
Yeah, no, I agree. Definitely. I think a lot of people are now tapping more into modesty, looking at it as a whole, because they finally giving hijabis a chance in the workplace. Like they finally get to actually know hijabi. Like instead of us letting hijab companies about it, they get to know you as a person, and they're like, okay, no, hijabis are actually they're smart, they're intelligent, they have a lot more to offer than just the stereotypical stay-at-home woman. So I feel like because of that, they're giving hijabis more chance in the world, and because of that, hijabis bring their modesty, their humility, they bring all of that. I'm not saying that people who don't wear hijab aren't modest and not don't bring these things to the table, but in hijab is main. That's like the main characteristics they bring to the table. So I think maybe that's why media is now that's become more mainstream in the media.
And I also like the idea, I don't know about you ladies, but the idea of sport. Because if you look at sport now and you start following sport, they've even started creating those hijab little garbs that you can wear if you're participating in important sport. And it goes to show that the way they're seeing things is completely different to what it was before. Raisa?
Yeah, no, definitely. They're making waves in the world.
Sajida is speaking.
Okay, Sajida, give us a minute. We'll go to Raisa and then we'll come to you.
It's okay, Sajida. It's amazing, and hijab is just an amazing topic to even speak about. There's so much of passion that comes from addressing the topic.
I can see the excitement.
But it's true, like even in like Nafisa said, like in terms of sport and stuff, because they're looking at other ways of covering as well, and it's not only becoming like a taboo topic. Also, it's not a controversial topic as well, because if other cultures and other areas of and with other walks of life are using the hijab as a way to cover themselves, then there's more meaning to it than what meets the eye. And I think
For
that's
sure.
important also.
Sajna, what's your take on it? I mean, I've been watching, all these top brands out there creating special hijabs for different sport, and I think it's absolutely amazing because that wasn't happening prior. And now, actually, you see the most potential. Should we say potential women that are going out there in sport, not realizing what they're actually made of, and that they're donning that hijab and they're doing what they have to do, and people go wow. And they said so they're going out there creating that wow factor with that hijab.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's amazing because finally, like as much as hijab opens doors for you, it opens doors for you now into different industries because the industries in turn open doors for you. So, for example, like with the whole Nike hijab, if you think about it, there's so many women who have benefited from it. Like instead of being
Exactly.
worried as a hijabi before, you'd always be thinking, okay, if I have to go to the gym, there's a certain way I need to dress. I have to find this outfit who's going to actually look decent, look modest, because you have to dress decently if you wear hijab. It's like goes hand in hand. So
That
now that there's a mainstream way of dressing, which is made mainstream by different companies, it's amazing. It makes it so much easier.
Yeah, and I think it also it's created the awareness where there are Muslim women out there that have tons of potential and that can bring something really great to the table, irrespective of the type of field they're in. So I think this whole thing has been a real turner, which I think is absolutely great because it gives you the opportunity to go forward in your journey of your aims, your goals, your potentials, without being held back just because you're wearing a headscarf.
Mm, definitely. And it does get hot. I mean, sometimes I get asked, like when I go to Durban, like, don't you get hot in
That's
that thing?
true.
That's a frequent question.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, it's perfectly fine. I'm used to it. So yeah, it's
yeah.
withstanding these difficult times that you can go through with wearing the hijab.
Yeah, and I think it's being also steadfast in your beliefs because sometimes you do get enticed into wanting to do your hair or whatever. You can do that at home, so it's fine. I do that at home. Sometimes I feel like I want to look really good. So, yeah, what message would you like to leave our listeners with this afternoon?
Sajida, would you like to go first?
So no, I don't understand. So in this case, I understand what you mean with doing the hair. That was so difficult for me in the beginning because I was so used to doing my hair every morning for school, and then I started trying out different hijabs, and it was such a fail on some days. I used to be really embarrassed, and I used to get really
Oh,
insecure
no.
about it. But after some time, like it's a big change in life, you learn how to deal with it, and for every girl, it's like you basically find yourself, you find your own fashion sense, your way of dressing, talking. You meet so many new people because of the hijab. Even it opens a lot of doors for you, and a lot of people think that it closes doors. It closes the doors that aren't right for you. So alhamdulillah, I
Yeah,
think it's an amazing thing to like be strong enough to wear the hijab. It's such confidence because you don't conform to any westernized standards of fashion. So I think like if anyone wants to go into hijab, go for it. Like take the leap. Like it's worth it. It's honestly worth it.
most definitely. On your side, Raisa?
I think Sajida said it all, but I mean also to those that are struggling and are on this battle of adorning hijab. I mean, I wish you all the best, inshallah. It isn't easy, but it's worth it in the end. So good luck.
I so agree with you. I mean, I went through it. I was on television from when I was 18, and the constraints that I went through in the environment due to, of course,
Mm,
initially I hadn't worn the hijab, but a good about 10 years down the line, I put it on, and it was starting to create these barriers. But I stood
inshallah.
steadfast, telling myself that irrespective of that, my creator knows my intention of me wearing it, and other doors will open. So like you were saying, maybe the incorrect doors close and the right ones open for you. So I think I'm in a great space right now. So I want to thank you so much for
Alhamdulillah.
joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping from this that others understand the meaning, the connotation, the value, and should we say the speciality behind the hijab and what it means. So Jazakallah so much. I wish you ladies all the best going forward. Thank you so much for enticing us, should we say, into a better space to make us understand, should we say, the meaningfulness and the spirituality behind wearing the hijab.
I mean, Jazakallah for having us. It was a real pleasure.
Jazakallah so much for having.
The pleasure was ours, and thank you so much. You take care and do stay. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I forgot the other lady's name. Sajida. Definitely enticing us into a space to make us, of course, realize the importance of the hijab. But, the connotations behind it, as I was saying earlier, it's not something that you just don and it's there. It has a whole lot more meaning to it. So leaving you with that, we're going to go for a quick break. And we're going to be discussing with Asima Musa something that has a lot of meaning as well. So stay with us. We'll be back with you in a bit.